What's going on? It's Jamie.
And John.
And welcome to the A-To-Zed Reseller podcast. How's it going this week, John?
Not bad, man. Not bad at all. I've been working through a softball injury, but I played last night. Everything felt really good. And while my leg still looks like it's been mutilated, it actually feels fine. So I think I'm on the mend.
Is this from from sliding or something, or do you like an actual taking a ball to the shin or something like that?
Yeah, ball to the shin. I was playing third base, and yeah, big old liner right to the bone, and woof, pretty brutal. But it's good now.
I remember playing. So I much more enjoyed playing hardball, but I remember playing softball pretty young, and our softball diamonds were gravel, which I always thought was crazy. And they encourage you to slide on it still. I remember getting ripped up bad by that. It was terrible.
Yeah, ours is like a very, very fine gravel, like crusher dust style. It's not like a good soft dirt by any means. So, I mean, sometimes you slide around, or sometimes like if I'm going after a ball and I like kind of get down on one knee to like try to, make a nice backhanded stop or something. Like I was definitely bleeding through my pants last night, but oh well.
Yeah, I remember a lot of that type of thing. It was pretty miserable, but
yeah.
Still, how's things going reselling wise? Still on the slower side, picking up?
No, definitely very much on the slow side. I had the lowest week on eBay I've had probably in 2 years. It was barely over a couple $100, and I don't know what else to do. Like, I'm doing everything else the same. It's just completely died. Poshmark's still kind of kicking around a little bit, but I do have something else up my sleeve to hopefully make some more money coming up in the near future, which we can get into. So there's another opportunity that has popped up very close to me. So hopefully that'll be another outlet for revenue.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds interesting. Something you want to talk about later, or what are we talking about?
Well, yeah. We can either throw it in here, or we can definitely talk about it on this podcast. I just didn't know if you had some kind of like a little bit of an agenda or an itinerary you wanted to follow a little bit before I just dive right in. But hey, man, it doesn't.
No, definitely interested. You got my.
All right. Well, let's not leave the audience waiting then. All right. So then, obviously you've been talking about your antique booth. You've been talking about setting up, selling there, and trying to figure things out and stuff. And we had talked about it briefly here, I believe, about how, I really didn't have anything in my area, and it didn't seem like it was going to be something that I could get into. And then lo and behold, almost right across the street from me, something starts up, and I didn't know that it had been going on for a few weeks already, but apparently it's going really well. We saw it when we went down there just shopping, like browsing around as customers this last weekend. Looked around, we're talking to a couple of the vendors to kind of see like what their thoughts were on it. And, this one guy that I was talking to, he's like, man, like it's doing way better than I thought. Like, they had like a good 100 people roll through the day before, and definitely making some money. And so I'm going to be starting up a booth that's, not a huge space, but like a decent little room inlet style booth in an indoor market. And it's Saturdays and Sundays, and we've committed to the end of August. So we got 5 weeks that we're going to be doing the last weekend of July and then the 4 weekends in August. And it actually works out. The price is really good too. I forget what you said you pay on yours, or maybe you didn't disclose that, but like, for the amount of traffic that is apparently coming through this place, I think for these 5 weeks, so 10 selling days, it's $140. Okay. So I really only need to make like $14 a day to break even. I feel like that's going to be really easy to do. So, yeah.
What type of stuff? So you probably walk through there just to see what other people had. Is it typically antiques or pop culture, or a mix of everything, or clothing?
A mix of everything, including clothing. But I got to say, a lot of junk, like a lot of stuff that you would just see at like a regular yard sale. And it's like, okay, these vendors probably aren't doing so well. But the guy I was talking to said that, look, you bring anything video games in here and it just goes like lightning. He's like, he brings in a console and he's getting very close to market price for it. And it sells like usually the day he puts it out. So there's always people coming in asking for that kind of stuff. And where I do have things that are my own personal collection that I'm still looking to sell off and make some money and pay down some debt. And I'm always like, on the hunt on Marketplace and stuff for good deals. I figured I'd give it a go. But we have a pretty good mix of things that like would probably do well in a booth, like, kind of vintage and antique items. But then also a few like bulkier items that don't sell well online because of the shipping cost that I think will do well in the booth. So we're going to try that. So my girlfriend and I, she has kind of a whole bunch of stuff that she had on Etsy as well, like, really cool, like vintage collectibles and things that I think will do well. And we'll kind of like split the room into two different ways. Like, we'll have kind of her wall, and then I'll have kind of like, the center piece that has just kind of the mix. And then the one side I'm hoping will be like all video game stuff. So should be a pretty good opportunity, I think, to make some cash.
That's really cool. I know one of the things I did when I started, because it's still pretty new, right? Like for me, I'm only like 3 months in, but there is a good chunk of stuff that I was willing to take offline and put there, but then rotate, right? If you're going to stay there for multiple weeks, after a week, you could say like, okay, so I want to bring something else. So you take it back. It's kind of cool that you can cycle inventory through there, even if it's just to see what might sell there, right? So you could throw a couple of maybe jerseys you have in there. You could throw some shirts or vintage shirts, or even shirts maybe like that you never should have picked up, like the graphic T-shirt type thing, right? If you got any of those kicking around, you probably could get your money back pretty easy, because that's pretty much the point of some of the stuff that's sticking around for far too long, is you'd like your money back more than you care about if you ever make any money, right?
Exactly. And there's definitely a lot of there's definitely a lot of items that, we've had for a while where it's like, hey, let's just throw it in here. It'll be a good opportunity to like liquidate some of this stuff that we've had and basically get like yard sale pricing for some of it. And that's fine, because a lot of it came from a yard sale or we got really cheap. And then, the other stuff that's there kind of is what makes the profits. But it's a good way for us to turn over some of that old inventory. But yeah, I'm probably going to bring in, like, I've got a couple of specialty jackets, like some nice, like, NASCAR leather jackets, or like vintage starter, like leather and wool, like Letterman style jackets that, are pretty high end. Like there's a couple things that I've got listed for $100-$200 online that, the reality is if I take it to the booth and I put like 75 or 100 on it and somebody offers me like $60, I'm going to take it because I know I only paid like $10 for these things, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good way to like get those things in front of maybe a local crowd that I think some of that stuff would do well here too. Like being in rural Nova Scotia, I never want to talk down about a demographic of people, and it's not like that. But I do feel like some of the things that I have will do well in this kind of rural, local, half hillbilly area. It's just the way that it is. So
I think I totally understand what you're saying there too. What about so is it just rent, or is rent plus commission?
No, so it's just the rent, and so I forget how it works out. The fee, I think it's $35 a week, but then if you commit to a month at a time, you get 20% off. And I think that's where I was getting $28 times 4 is the 140. Yeah, so, or times 5 rather, because I got 5 weeks. But there's no commission or anything like that. And I feel really good about it too, because it's in kind of like, so I live really close to a decommissioned military base. So a lot of those old military buildings are now used for either commercial or industrial purposes, but a lot of them are just like community buildings that some volunteer group is running, a youth center out of, or like youth activities or community activities or things like that, or a library or things like that. And so this particular building, the other half of it is like a youth center where they offer like, free karate classes, all kinds of free activities for kids and after school care and stuff like that. So the person who's renting this out, they obviously like own the building or rent the building or do whatever. I don't know what the actual ownership is, but they don't actually make any money off of this. It all goes into the fund for, the youth on the other side of the building. So, I mean, if at the end of the day, after 5 weeks, I've broken even or not made a whole lot of money and whatever, I'm not going to feel too bad about it because it's going to a good cause anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's obviously because it is a rental, you can still write off the cost of the rental, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's not.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that's one of the things that I always try to keep in mind is even I've not had a losing month yet, but as far as your overall income for the year, it's still, it's part of something you can write off towards your business. So it's not all negative, even if you only break even or make a little bit, it's still, like you said, an opportunity to maybe build a new audience there. I think it's a great thing to try for sure.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And, I mean, this is the first year they're doing it and they weren't really sure how it would go. They started up. It seems to have taken off really well. Their plan is to run it until the beginning of October and maybe not run it over the winter just because, the winter, everything kind of shuts down. I mean, it's Canada. But they might keep it open. Maybe they'll just go back to 1 day a week or something like that. But even if it does close down over the winter, at least then we'll kind of know, like, okay, this was good or this wasn't good. But then we'll have first dibs, obviously, in the spring to start right back up because they're, she said if they do close over the winter, they'll open right back up as early as they can, probably like April or something like that. And then, returning vendors will obviously have first dibs to, maybe even for a bigger discount if it meant like booking for the whole year, once people have a better idea. So,
yeah, that's awesome. I do think it's cool there's no commission either. I know here, I think I'm on the lower part of it, but it's rent plus 10% commission on everything sold, which isn't terrible anyway. I mean, part of the reason why that doesn't really, there's nothing you can do about it, but they pay the HST and all the sales too, because the money goes through the till, right? So it's paid on your behalf. You don't have to worry about HST. I'm sure whatever sales tax applicable for you, it's probably the same thing there anyway. We do have, what is mine? I think I pay $150 plus HST for the month, but it's open. Mine's open less than a lot of other ones. I think it's Wednesday through Sunday.
Okay.
Not too bad, but a lot of them take like the Monday, Tuesday off. I think is pretty typical here.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, go ahead.
So this one, because it's I think they're technically able to call it like a charity fundraiser, basically.
Yeah.
This is a tax-free thing.
Cool.
You can, because some people do not always man their booth. So, but like typically it means that you are actually there. You're there manning your booth on the Saturday and Sunday that it's open, right? So like you have to put the time in. Okay. But you can definitely like she's willing to work with people. She said there's people who just like, if they just can't make it, something comes up or whatever, they'll work something out and maybe that vendor, out of their sales that day, just like donates a certain extra amount to the other side or something like that for her just kind of taking care of it for that day, right? If they don't want to just stay closed and lose out on sales.
So it's a bit more like a flea market then. Is that fair to say?
A bit more. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's still really cool. I mean, it obviously costs you your time a little bit, but if you're physically there, able to make deals with people, and because I'd say that's one of the big things, like in a booth, because somebody else is running it, if they can't get a hold of you or somebody doesn't ask for a deal, you'll just walk away, right? So there isn't that opportunity to like negotiate. I have had I did have a call last week. I had this wooden slat. They're actually tobacco slats, and somebody painted like Cat on the Hat on it, and it had like a saying down it. And I had that, I don't even know how much I had it for in my booth, but apparently the price tag fell off or somebody took it off because it wasn't just on the ground. And I know I got a phone call and they just said, hey, somebody wants to buy this. What is it worth? And I'm like, let's say $35 today. And that was okay. But without somebody there, obviously you're not going to sell it, right? So.
Yeah. And, I don't mind being there on the weekends because, obviously, like, my day job is Monday to Friday. I live 2 minutes away. So this is really close. Like my storage unit is a minute away. So everything is so close to home. And, I can be there just kind of sitting down, playing on my Nintendo Switch or something, listing other items while I'm doing this. Like I could be, because I plan out my drops on eBay and Poshmark, and I have those photos all taken ahead of time, I could be sitting there just listing for a couple hours, playing some Nintendo Switch, whatever, hanging out, chatting to the guy in the next booth over or whatever. And then, making deals. Like I actually really enjoy that part of it. So it might, Saturdays can be a good day to go out and go sourcing, but I don't feel like I'm going to be losing out that much because I have so many other opportunities throughout the week to go sourcing.
Yeah. I would think garage sales you'd miss out on, but I don't love going to a thrift store on a Saturday because that's when people have time off and they're going to be there, and
garage sales in my area aren't that good anyway. So like honestly, I don't even feel like I'm missing out much. Again, being in such a rural area, like I could try to plan out a route that maybe I'd hit like 10 of them, but I'm out all day, right? Like,
yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. I'm definitely excited for you. I really like the idea too, like you said, if you can play a little bit of Nintendo Switch and have some downtime, but if you can double dip and do some eBay listing while you're sitting there trying to make some money, that's awesome too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I got my cat is making the craziest noise right now. You probably can't hear it. I think we have like I think I maybe told you this before. We have like for backup in our house, we still have a wood stove because it's electric heat pumps is what we have for heating and cooling. And I think there's a bird right now in the chimney. Like they can get in through the top and down. So I thought it was the cat, but now I just hear this scratching noise. So if you hear this insane scratching noise, my apologies. Can't really do anything about it. I'll have to try to get the poor little bird out of there after we're done. It's usually like not an easy thing either. It's like you open it up, they're scared of you, they go back up, and it's like a little game. It's not a fun one usually.
I have to tell you a story. So my girlfriend's grandmother, who is I think 91 now or almost 92, a few years ago, within the last 5 years, she had a whole bunch of birds come down through her chimney and down through the fireplace and into her house, like a whole flock of them. And she's just like, she's she lives on her own. She's doing great. Like, she was as able to take care of this as anybody else would have been. But like, she was up on her counters trying to get all these birds. They were like up on top of the cabinets, like where she had stuff displayed. She's up trying to catch all these birds. There's a dozen of them in her house or something. She's like, it was one of the most stressful, crazy things I've ever dealt with in my, nearly 90 years. But anyway, it was just kind of funny. Hopefully it's only one, because I think she spent something like 12 hours trying to get this like dozen plus birds out of her house.
It's usually the same, like these black, it's just a blackbird, a sparrow, I guess is what it is. Okay. It seems like it's the same one every time, but it can't be. I mean, that bird can't be that ridiculous to keep coming in, but I don't know. Yeah, it's one of the, you open the door and you try to coax it out and you hope it goes for the door, because if it takes, a turn the other way, then you're chasing it around the house and that's no fun. So, but yeah, I don't know. But I would jump back to eBay for a minute. I had something really weird happen. I actually talked about this last Sunday. I was on the Scott Sell Stuff show on Sunday night, and I mentioned it to those guys to see if they had ever had this happen. So figured we could talk about it here as well. So I had somebody open a return, and that's like no big deal. They want to return something. However, did you know on eBay you can buy something as a guest? You might have an account or you might not, but you can actually check it as a guest, and it actually messes up a whole bunch of things.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
So have you ever, sometimes, I think this has happened before and I never really realized what happened. You ever get a buyer that says, okay, first of all, their name is crazy. It's just numbers and letters that make no sense whatsoever. It says they opened the account today and they purchased your item, and you think, oh no, this is a scam. And then you try to respond, you try to send them a message. They don't message you back, but they might open a return or do something like that. Item not as described, something. Well, one of the things when eBay allows somebody to sign it to check out as a guest, you cannot communicate with the person, which first of all is a huge flaw. So I can send them. Yeah, I can send them a message that they can read, but they can't communicate back to me. So when I contacted eBay customer support, the other thing that was frustrating is they won't tell you who the person is or anything either. But they're like, yeah, this person has a valid account with lots of feedback. They must have went on here and clicked through and they weren't signed in, and it lets you process it. So I'm like, well, how am I supposed to communicate with them about what's wrong with it, troubleshoot, do anything? And they're like, well, if this person's like, been on eBay a while, they can click on your profile name and send you a message that way. And I'm like, okay, that's fine for me or you. If this is my father or, and somebody who's older, they would never know how to do that. That would be, even if I explained to them how to do it, it'd be, they probably wouldn't. Right. So I'm like, okay, so it's just so weird that that's something that can happen. And eBay's resolution to it was, well, just accept the return, get the item back, and then see if what they said is true, or offer them a partial refund. I'm like, there's no way to communicate with this person. And I'm like, I've never heard of a guest account before. And then when you Google it, like eBay guest account, you can see people on different forums complaining for like a couple of years now that something similar has happened, or, from both sides. Because I'm sure if you bought something, it'd be just as frustrating because there's no way to communicate. Yeah.
Imagine being like, one of the leading global commerce platforms and allowing transactions within which you cannot communicate about the transaction.
Yeah.
that is idiotic. That just adds to the list of just the dumb stuff that eBay somehow has allowed. Like, do they not have a QA department? Do they not have anybody who goes to regular meetings to discuss the state of their platform and what they could be doing to fix it? Because like, I know, in at my job, like even when things are running smooth, there's still usually at least a monthly meeting where we discuss like, hey, does anybody have any ideas? Has anything come up recently that is an obvious issue? Like, oh my God, this is so dumb. Anyway, not to rag on them too bad. Obviously, we both sell on eBay and we make good money there, and I'm grateful for them. But it's just sometimes this kind of stuff happens, and it makes you wonder, like, how did they become so successful?
I don't know, and that's like, I know I said to the customer service agent too, I'm like you don't see the problem in this, like, and they're like, yeah, like I kind of do. They're just like, because I was irritated, and they're just like, well, I hope it doesn't ruin your weekend. And I'm like, it's not going to ruin my weekend. It's just, I don't personally have a problem with it. It's just, this is absurd that this actually could even happen, and that nobody else, sees an issue with this. And it is such a simple thing. But what is the need for someone to check out as a guest? Well, if that's the case, why do we need feedback or a reputation whatsoever as a buyer or a seller? We should just abolish that at this point if we can just all be guests. Because if I could buy something as a guest, I shouldn't even say this because it'll just give somebody an idea, right? But if I could buy something as a guest because I plan on ripping somebody off and there's no consequences apparently because it's not really attached to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just seems like it's just set up for failure at that point.
Like, it would be so easy to just put, with so many other things, you must be signed in to do this. You want to do anything else, like you want to do any banking, you can't just open your app. You got to sign in, like, to make a transaction. Yeah. Which is good. That's the way things should be. You should have to sign in to make transactions. That just seems the most logical way of doing things. Wow. That's so dumb.
I thought that was pretty bad. Didn't you have something? I thought I seen you had a little rant, or maybe on about eBay as well. Maybe it was even just on Facebook or something. But you had some issues too, right?
Yeah, I've got 3 open items. Well, actually, one kind of closed, but I had 3 recent issues with eBay. First, I'll ask you: did you get your eBay shipping coupon, your shipping supplies coupon?
Did not. No.
No. Okay. Because I've spoken with the customer help chat AI, possibly a human, but probably not help chat about that. And I was guaranteed that I would hear something back within 3 business days. Well, it's been 5. Anyway, so that's number one. Thought I'd throw that one out there. The other one, again, we talked about it before too, and I know Chris has mentioned it, is about UPS ripping me off by charging the full retail amount for the label, even though eBay and the eBay app, when I put in the actual dimensions and weights, told me it was much less. That was supposed to be resolved within 3 business days, that I at least hear something back. Never did. So again, just more completely useless eBay customer service. The third thing, though, and what you're referring to, was I had somebody as a customer, as a buyer, just completely just lose it. Or it seemed that way. So I shared the conversation to Instagram because I just thought it was hilarious. Of course, I blacked out their name, but this person purchased something on a Tuesday. So Friday morning, 3 days later, I have 5-day handling on. I mean, if anybody actually looks, you can see what a customer, what a buyer, or what a seller actually has for handling time. But in any case, they purchased something on Tuesday. And on Friday morning, they messaged me and said, I'm getting really concerned because I'm still awaiting this item. I was like, okay. I mean, it's not even been 3 full days yet. I plan on shipping this out today, but even had I shipped it out same day, I mean, it's only 3 days later. It's not going to get to you in, I think it was Minnesota, from Nova Scotia in 3 days. Like, that's not going to happen. So that would be a real unrealistic, expectation to have. I was kind about it, but also wanted to set the tone. Like, I don't know what you're asking here, but that would not work. And, she basically just tried to paint me as the bad guy. Like, oh, wow, you didn't have to be so snarky about it, or you didn't have to be like, a dick about it. And I'm done with you. Like, you're being so argumentative and defensive. I'm like, no, that's not the case at all. And she's like, I wasn't saying I was awaiting the item. I was saying I was awaiting shipment of the item. I was like, well, here's the screenshot where you did not say that. Here's the screenshot, because I can scroll up and see your message you sent me where it said you were awaiting the item. So that's why I responded the way that I did. I mean, I wouldn't have talked about lead times to ship something and it wouldn't get there in 3 days if you were just talking about awaiting me shipping the item. I mean, come on. Like, that's not what you said. Stop trying to paint me as the bad person here. And she just like, in 25 years on eBay, I've never blah, 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 typical rant of I've never put up with something this terrible and you're awful. I was like, all right, you know what? And I was fully prepared to take a ding on this one. I was like, I'm canceling your order. I'm not putting up with this. And so if I cancel an order on somebody, this, and there's no good valid reason for it, I put problem with address. If she would have fought that or something, I would get a ding against my account for just canceling an order. I don't even care. I was like, no, I'm canceling this. You have proven yourself to be a problem buyer who is going down a path that I do not understand, and I know there's going to be a problem, and we're just not doing this today. I don't deserve this. So I canceled her order, put as the reason problem with buyer's address. Didn't hear anything after that, so good enough.
Yeah. I think too, if it did ever come back on you, you probably could. You're not allowed to have any sort of harassment whatsoever on eBay. So I'm pretty sure if the conversation's right there, somebody would just have to look and be like, okay, this is kind of out of line. The other thing is you're not supposed to swear either. I guess if anybody ever drops any swear word, that can also like lead to like pretty much removal of anything negative that's happened because someone's out of line. But yeah, that is kind of crazy. I've had something similar recently on Poshmark where somebody said to me after like I think 2 days, like, yeah, if you're not going to bother to ship this, just cancel this order. But I actually already had shipped it. It just never. I don't always hit ship when I drop it off of the post office, so it's like you have to wait for the thing to like actually scan. Especially with my US Poshmark, because there is a bigger gap there when I might drop it off. So I might print a label and might sit here, but I'll wait till they physically scan it. Otherwise, you can hit shipped and then it'll just sit there and it's almost worse because it's not moving, right? But yeah, that is frustrating when somebody can't, see your handling time and then they're giving you a hard time. Like, you're certainly haven't done anything wrong yet.
Yeah, it's like, calm down, like just stop freaking out and ruining my day here. Like, I'm not dealing with this.
It's because
No,
it's Amazon, though, right? Because they believe it's John's Amazon store that's next day delivery.
yeah, next day delivery. It's coming to you by drone or jetpack.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, I fired up my jetpack the instant you purchased this, and I took off from Nova Scotia, and I'm jetpacking my way. I didn't even have to go through customs because I just went through the air. Like, ridiculous.
I wish I could create a little cartoon of that and like edit it in. That would be so great. One day I'll get there.
Yeah, I got a buddy Philip who's done some animation. He does great work, and actually I wrote a few years ago. I wrote kind of a kid's, not really a kid's poem. I wrote a poem for a kid of someone that I worked with, and because they loved butterflies. So I just wrote this poem about a butterfly. There may or may not have been a lot of references to drug use and things like that. I mean, hey, it's poetry, right?
Yeah.
But it was suitable for kids. But I wanted to turn it into a kid's book, and we never did go down the path. But Philip, if I do get this going, he's going to animate it for me and do all the illustrations and stuff. So yeah, maybe I can hit him up for a Jetpack John little animation that we can put up as well. I got to talk to him later. We'll see what we can do.
That would be the best. I mean, you should save that for your own channel, and it should be like one of the Karen videos where you know what I mean? Yeah. You'll double in subscribers overnight for sure.
Yeah, maybe I'll change my my channel name to Reselling with Jetpack John.
That would be the best. Good things in your future. So even with bleak sales, did you have a particular sale that stood out on any platform or even a local one?
You know what? I'm gonna have to look this up. Let's see here. Let's open up my sales sheet on the fly. This will be live action. John looking at his sales sheet to see if anything actually went through that was pretty cool. Oh yeah, okay. Here's a cool one. Not big money, but just a really, really cool thing. So a couple of years ago, I saw on Facebook Marketplace this little 5-inch black and white TV, and they wanted $10 for it. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. I don't need it, but I want that, right? So I don't even know why. I was just, for whatever reason, I wanted it. So I got there. She's like, you know what? Just please take this. I don't even want to take your money. I'm like, all right, sure. So I brought it home. I had to get like a microphone adapter, like jack to coaxial kind of adapter thing, so I could like plug in, VHS or VCR or like Sega Genesis or something like that. So I'd actually, for a very brief period of time in our little downstairs den area, had it set up that it was running Sonic the Hedgehog, just the opening screen, just kind of running that in the background up on a shelf or whatever. And it was just kind of a cool little piece. So this little Spectra 5-inch black and white TV. And I mean, at the end of the day, we realized that it was just doing nothing but using power so that I can, occasionally look at this when I walk in the room. So I sold that TV. It was only for $25. It's not like this is a big money or anything, but it's one of the coolest little things I've ever sold. So yeah, you can tell that it was a very bleak week when I sold a total of 13 items, and the 25-inch 5-inch or $25 5-inch black and white TV was the highlight, but it was still a pretty cool item.
Yeah, those are cool. Did that one have the cigarette lighter adapter and the regular house one?
No, it was just it just had a regular spot for like an AC adapter. And then it had like the little headphone jack kind of input in the back, and it was like the old rabbit ear UHF VHF kind of dial, but in order to actually put coaxial in so that I could run cable or something with it, I had to get this little adapter for it. It was like $2 on Amazon or something, but. So I mean, altogether, I was in probably $10 worth of gas plus $2 for this adapter, plus probably $10 worth of electricity from just running this damn thing in my house for a few months. But that was still cool. Oh, and actually, one other thing. This was a sale from about a month ago, but I finally got paid from the guy on my softball team who bought all the Guitar Hero stuff from me that I let him take home to test out. We were starting to get a little bit of testy, and I was like, "All right, dude, you got to pay me." So anyway, he paid me.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Yeah, I think those little TVs, people a lot of times will put them in boats, from what I remember. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, but there,
it did have a battery spot. Like you could run this one by battery. So
yeah, I do have one currently. I probably have it listed higher than it needs to be, which sometimes I find doing that sometimes works out anyway. Because then when people try to say, like we've talked about this, when people lowball you, you're like, yeah, you're right in the ballpark now, so it's fine, right?
yeah.
But then sometimes, like I said, I've had this one long enough now that I probably should revisit the price, because maybe it's just high enough to keep people away. Because that's the other problem, right? You can be just overachieving that kind of goal as well. But
Well, and it might not even be getting seen really. Like, if it's just over that threshold, depending on how people are searching and filtering, maybe it's just not even getting seen. If there's other ones that are just less and, they're looking at the first few results, or, another sponsored for a little bit more or something, promoted listings. So,
yeah, there's a good possibility. Yeah, so I had a really good sale that I was definitely happy about, for a couple of reasons, I guess. First of all, it was just a band T-shirt, 90s T-shirt. I said it was a 90s grunge alt T-shirt, but I mean, it's Lifehouse. Do you remember Lifehouse, the band?
I do, and I saw your post, and I was like, grunge, yeah, all right.
Hey,
It was alternative. I'll give it that. I
yeah.
mean, hey, they did actually have a couple of songs though that were a little bit heavy. So
Yeah.
you know what? They had a touch of grunge on a couple of tracks. I'll give them that. That wasn't false.
No, well, it could, it's borderline. But I remember, I know one of my actually the best man at my wedding. He was like, there's a couple bands he likes that, and he's a really cool guy. He's got great taste in music, but he likes Lifehouse is one of the bands. I'm like, I don't know, dude. He's like, no, there's some good songs, and he showed me, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, same with like Hanson, Bob Hanson.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They've got some pretty decent rock songs too, and I'm like, I can't get past it. There's no way.
Yeah.
Sorry, but he's into it, right? And I think that's cool. But anyway, so the Lifehouse T-shirt, $110. That's full price. So I got full price for it.
Nice.
When I was on vacation, I got an $80 offer, and I was just chomping at the bit to take it, but I couldn't because it was going to mess up everything. It was like I could accept offers post Wednesday, and that offer came in Tuesday afternoon, or expired maybe Tuesday afternoon. So I couldn't accept it. So I'm like, oh man, it's no big deal, but I mean, I let $80 go. I would have took that, and then kind of forgot about it, and sold for full price. Very happy about that part of it for sure.
No, that's a great sale. I want to go back to that expiring offer or the offer, because if you accept the offer while you're on vacation mode, you don't get that leeway, that protection of vacation mode. You still now only have your handling time. And I think that's a really important distinction to make to people, is like, if you initiate sales while you're on vacation mode, guess what? Now you still have to ship within your regular shipping time. But what I would have done in that situation, and hey, maybe this is the wrong thing to do, but what I would have done in that situation was probably accept the offer, but then just send a message immediately that says, I don't know if you saw this, but I am currently on vacation mode. By accepting this offer, eBay is going to essentially force me to ship this out before I even get back. So I'm going to have to mark this shipped before I'm back. Just know that, it is actually going to be Monday or whatever day that it is when I'm shipping it, but you're going to see that I purchased the label or that I'm shipping it on Friday. That's not actually happening. Are you okay with that? And then at least you'd have some written record, and because then if they did create a fuss about it, well, you would have that written communication where you could say to eBay, well, no, you can't really ding me on this. This was my workaround, and they agreed to it.
But my luck would be, now here we're going to go full circle. My luck would be, this would be a guest account, and we can't communicate. So now now I'm just stuck in it, and then we can't talk to each other. I'd like to let them know all this stuff, but apparently that's not an option at this point.
They don't make it easy, do they? Wow.
No, and that was part of the thing. And exactly what you said, I considered all that, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna play it safe for a couple
Yeah.
of reasons, because I didn't care. I would have liked to make that sale, but in the grand scheme of things, I was on vacation, and I was just, I'm like, okay, I kind of thought I'll probably have an opportunity to send out offers if this person liked it. If for whatever reason, they must not have liked it, but they made an offer. I don't know. It wasn't available after when I looked. So
Okay.
yeah,
I mean, me, selling 13 items all damn week, I would have done that. But, but I mean, I'm a little more desperate for sales like that. But yeah, no, I get your point on that one. And it's weird. It's always tricky when you're in those kinds of situations. Cause like, obviously you want to do things within the, the rules or, the specified terms and stuff. You don't want to like risk getting defects on your account. You don't want to, ever feel like you're deceiving anybody. But at the same time, sometimes these platforms, and it's not just eBay, sometimes these platforms just don't have every option built in. I mean, they can't account for every single scenario. So
right.
sometimes it's like, all right, well, like, what could I do here to work around this situation? It's kind of like a programmer trying to find a workaround when there's a bug in the system. It's like, all right, do this for now, take this detour, and then once we get this fixed, we can drive back down the main road again. But
Yeah, that makes sense. That, like I said, a lot of the times I do think like that. I think just because I was on vacation, I was just trying to think about all that the least amount possible.
oh
But
yeah,
but yeah, as far as the slow sales, have you considered, and you probably do this on a semi-regular basis anyway, but if it really felt like it wasn't starting to come back around, which I don't think you're alone here. I think it's slower for everybody. But if it feels super slow, I would definitely just go in, filter by either oldest items, or if you want a couple of good sales, I would go in and filter by highest listed and just start playing with like those listings and like end sell similar. That's what, when I came out of vacation mode but didn't have any listings I wanted to list yet, that's exactly what I did. I went to highest listed and I started delisting all my highest stuff and kind of tweaking it a little bit, because those are the ones I wanted to sell if I could sell anything, right? I don't know. I'd play around with all that stuff as much as possible, even if you're still listing. But
yeah, for sure. No, I'm definitely going to go in and do a little bit more of that. I was kind of just hoping it was very temporary and just this short little anomaly, and my regular listing would just kind of pull it back out the other end, but it doesn't seem like that's working. So yeah, I'm going to go in and definitely tweak some of those older listings. I'll put another sale on, probably do like a 50% off sale on all my oldest stuff, and just try to get some revenue coming back in. I mean, at this point, a lot of my older inventory, that buy cost, it's all gone so long ago now, I don't even really care. I
yeah,
would rather like make my money back like we talked about earlier. So
the other thing too is if I scroll back through my last 10 sales, I would say 8 of the 10 are not clothing. So I think clothing right now is a little tough too. So I think that could be part of it, because I've noticed definitely my Depop is like, I think today might have made I don't even know what sold. I just seen I had a PayPal notification. I assume it was a good one. You never know. I guess it could be a bad thing. That's going to be my first Depop sale since I've been back. So that's, not great. And Poshmark's been slower for sure. I wouldn't say it's miserably slow, but slower than, definitely slower than the last year if I compare, for sure.
yeah, oh yeah, no, it's definitely the slowest it's been for me for a while. Um, but yeah, things like hats or other random like accessories are still performing reasonably well for me. But yeah, clothing is down. Video games are good all year round, and other miscellaneous hard goods are typically, as good now as they have been. It is definitely the clothing. And, I mean, even if I'm prioritizing the last couple months, listing a lot more like summery, good seasonal type of stuff, less people are buying clothes in the summertime. I mean, it's just the way that it is. So
Yeah. As you say that, my last sale was a wool lumberjack jacket, plaid, vintage 70s, $50. So there's no rhyme or reason to it, right? Like who's buying that? Somebody gearing up for fall, but maybe somebody with a summer job thinking back to school, they want to look cool in their Kurt Cobain style button up. But yeah, I don't know.
What did I sell my last? When I'm looking through the last few clothing items I've sold, they've all been like very lightweight seasonal type of things. Okay. Or like this time of the year, I'll sell this time of the year, and then also like in the early, like January, February, people are going on vacations down south or whatever. I sell a lot of the like convertible hiking pants, like very lightweight nylon pants that also zip into shorts.
Yep.
So I will sell a lot of those in like late January, early February, and then again around this time of the year, because people are getting outside. That's basically the only summer item I can really truly count on to have a big uptick in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the one thing you do. I mean, we do realize is, in fourth quarter, we'll all be fine. I don't think there's too many people who don't do all there. And then I do find spring and fall to be typically some of my better sales months anyway. So, I'm not wishing summer to end anytime soon, because I definitely am enjoying the weather. But, as soon as that weather starts to turn, sales usually start to pick up. So.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys stuck around, thank you so much for listening. We had a little bit of a video issue this week, but the audio was totally fine. So I wound up just saving the audio. We threw it up this way this week. We're obviously going to go back to the video format in the future. If you guys do like videos like this, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing for more content, and we will see you soon.